Hey everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the PictureMonk podcast. This is actually the first PictureMonk podcast in the new year of 2015. Pretty excited that it has lasted this long, and I'm pretty excited to be back since I took the last week off to spend time with families and friends and everything, just to celebrate the holidays. So happy to be back, and I got a couple topics that I wanted to discuss, and the first one that I kind of want to go through real quick is you might notice that my sound quality might be just a tad bit better. Santa actually for the holidays brought me a new microphone to record my podcasts on, and it is the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 USB microphone. It seems to be pretty cool. It's not too terribly expensive, and I've heard that the sound quality actually rates with other microphones that are $400 or somewhere around there. But this one is just a regular USB microphone that plugs right into your computer, and this is the kind of audio quality you get. So usually with my other podcasts, I had to do a little bit of recording and then do some level adjustments like equalization and compressing and normalizing and stuff like that. But for this one, I don't think I'm going to have to do a whole lot to this original audio, so that'll be kind of cool and help save a little bit of time. So the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to touch on a quick thing that I also got over the holidays for Christmas, and it's just a really small accessory for your camera, and it's called I don't really know if it has a regular name, but it is a hot shoe mount for a GoPro or a hot shoe mount for an action camera. It's basically just a tiny little node basically that sticks onto the hot shoe of your camera, and the top of it has the same 1/4 inch screw that screws into most tripods and stuff like that. It's if you have a GoPro that has like the waterproof case on it, or if you have the GoPro frame, which is basically the frame that just supports the GoPro without any case, this is the perfect little attachment to put on your GoPro or put on your camera to attach your GoPro to. I actually used this over the holidays, and it was kind of a cool little trip. Me and my father-in-law drove down the George Washington Parkway in DC, and he took me to a bunch of places around there. But one of the ones that I thought was really cool that I really want to go back to again, and I don't know why I really have this fascination with it, but it was a park that was located next to, I believe, the Reagan Airport. It's just an open park for everybody to just park their car, and that airport is located right next to one of the runways for that airport. And depending on which way the wind's blowing and all that kind of stuff, you get to either see the planes coming in or you get to see the planes taking off. And just so happens that day that we got to see the planes coming in, which was really cool because they would fly over you, and you can, if you have a camera out there, you could take pictures. A lot of people were out there taking photos. It was really cool to see them come in over you. And what I used my GoPro camera for that time was I wanted to get video of the planes coming in, but I also wanted to get stills, and I was able to do that with that little GoPro attachment. So as I was taking the photos of the planes coming in, I had the GoPro recording the whole time, and I was doing it at 60 frames a second, so I should get a little bit of slow-mo, not crazy like an iPhone would or something, although I did use my iPhone to take a slow-mo video at 240 frames per second, and that was really cool. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can see that as well. I posted that video there. But I really wanted to put the GoPro camera on there and just test it out, and that was the perfect way to do it. So I actually had a lady that asked me when she saw my GoPro attached to my camera where I got it. So just in case you do have a GoPro or any kind of action camera, I'm going to put a link to the action camera I'm going to put a link to the adapter on my website at picturemont.com/PMP008. And I'll just put a link to Amazon. That's where I got it. It's a cheap little attachment. It's only like $2.50 or something like that. It's super cheap. So it's kind of like just a throw in your cart when you're ordering a bunch of other things and don't even worry about it. So I just wanted to touch on that. I also have a video and a couple stills. One of my favorite stills from that trip. I'll have that on the website as well, so you can check that out. And on the topic of that, let's go ahead and talk about the the Project 52 that it just ended right after Christmas. The Project 52, if you've heard my other podcasts, I kind of gave you an idea of what the Project 52 was, where you just take a photo every week for a year, and you can post it on all your social media accounts and just, you know, kind of keep a record of your year, basically. So now that we have the 52 photos, or that I have the 52 photos, it's kind of cool to go back and look at all those together. So if you want to go check that out, I do have a link that you can go to at picturemonk.com/project52, and that will take you right to the page, and you can see all 52 photos and just check them out. And just click on the links, and you can see the full size of them. So they're pretty cool to check out. And actually, the first photo that pops up there is one of the plane photos that I was just talking about. All right, one other thing that's going to be happening in 2015 coming up, hopefully next month, is my Lightroom Preset sale. I've spent the last couple months working in Lightroom, making all these presets that I really find helpful, and some of the ones that I've had for a while. I use them with most of my photos, but I wanted to make some new ones to kind of keep it modern and keep it, you know, in certain styles that are kind of popular now with kind of split toning and faded colors. So I just finished those up. There's 81 of them, and they range in the categories of basic presets, which is basically just you're increasing your clarity in certain increments, increasing your contrast a little bit. I do my instant sharpening, instant tilt shift. You can do a quick tilt shift effect, center focus, stuff like that. That's all in the basic category. And in the next category, there are the portrait and weddings. So there's about 13 or so of those. In the landscape, there's a few of those as well. There's about 13 or so of landscapes that are, really high contrast black and whites, faithful landscapes, which is just, a really clean image. In the modern category, there's a bunch of split toning effects where, you kind of see like reds in the shadows or blue in the highlights, stuff like that. They're really, really cool. Another one is one of my favorite categories. It's actually kind of different. Is the movie and lighting, and that basically contains two separate kind of presets. It contains movie presets that will mimic certain popular films or TV shows, like let's see, The Dark Knight, Walking Dead. Let's see, I even have Star Trek one in there, and it looks kind of cool. So it kind of mimics. I call it Chronos because that was the. I happened to be watching the Star Trek Into Darkness movie as I was doing those, and I was like, hey, why don't we just create one for that? The lighting effects in that preset pack as well kind of mimics like sunbursts. It has a couple sunbursts in there that you can move around, change around to suit the image. And I also have a 30-minute instructional video that will kind of walk you through some of the presets, some of my favorite ones, and show you that if there is a preset that you really want to use but just doesn't quite work with the image you're trying to use it on, I can show you how to change just a couple little sliders, and it'll probably work just fine. So that'll all be coming hopefully next month. I have one of my fellow photographers beta testing the presets right now, and they're working pretty good so far. But I just wanted to throw that out there, and hopefully you guys will be ready to check that out when it comes out. All right, one of the main topics I want to talk about is the kind of the year in review for 2014. I've seen a lot of photographers out there kind of gathering their favorite images, maybe 10, maybe 20, for 2014, and just grouping them together and popping them on the website. And I kind of want to encourage you guys to do the same. I tried to go through my top 10 or so that I really prefer, and I couldn't figure it out. I tried because it went between 10 to 15 to 20, and I just couldn't narrow it down. So I guess I kind of copped out, and I chose my Project 52 photos as my top, photos for 2014, even though some of them are really, really considered snapshots. they still have some sort of meaning to me. So I promise next year, when 2016 comes around, I'll be able to pick my favorite 2015 photos and put those up on there. So I encourage you to do the same. If you do have the top 10 photos that you really feel are, were screaming at you and saying, this is what my photography looks like in 2014. If you have them on Flickr, go ahead and post a link to your Flickr on the PictureMonk Facebook page, and that's at facebook.com/PictureMonkPhoto. You can post that there because I want to see those. So head on over to my Facebook account, post that up there. I want to check those out. And also, I don't have a Flickr, or I just opened a Flickr account recently. I never really got into Flickr, but I'm starting to get into it more and more. It seems kind of a really nice way to browse and just check out other people's photos. So I'm slowly getting my stuff up there, because not only am I trying to get my Flickr account going, I'm also redesigning my portfolio website for my personal work, and then also redoing some of the PictureMonk.com stuff. So got a whole lot of things going on at one time, so I'm trying to slowly get into all that. All right, and the next topic I want to talk about is the infamous HDR. I was listening to a podcast that I won't mention just because it seems that they have very strong feelings about HDR, but I feel that HDR kind of gets a bad rap because it seems sort of gimmicky. A lot of people talk about how HDR is just kind of like a cop-out because you can just blend images together, especially if it has that really, really heavy HDR look, which I don't prefer, but if that's how you see that your photography is, by all means go for it. And photography is definitely an art like everything else, so, it's kind of what you see. I really don't think there is technically a right or wrong. There's just things that, for example, like the whole RAW versus JPEG thing. I really don't care what you shoot. I just prefer to shoot in RAW, just because I get more options per se to do, to help with the editing part of it. So for HDR, I kind of wanted to walk through a couple things of how I do HDR, because I do HDR, but sometimes it may not scream out to you that it's HDR. It might not look like an HDR photo, but it really is. So the first thing I do is, when I'm taking the actual HDR shots, I'm going to do something called manual bracketing. And your camera can do bracketing in camera. Most cameras can do either a 3-stop range or a 9-stop or a 7 or 5, somewhere in there, probably not a 9-stop. But with manual bracketing, you're basically doing what the camera would do, but you're doing it yourself. So what you would basically do is put your camera on a tripod at a scene, and then take a photo of exposing for the shadows. So you're gonna, exposing for the highlights. Sorry, you're gonna take a photo exposing for the highlights. You're gonna take a darker photo to bring the highlights in, or let the bright light that's going to overpower the camera shine through, so you still get detail. And then you gradually get lighter and lighter and lighter till you expose for the shadows. And for the shadows, you're going to need a very bright photo. It's going to look blown out, but that's what you need. The software needs to see the shadows. So I will do that manually. So I will look at the live view on the back of the camera and determine where I see, the shadows being brought out, the neutral exposure, make sure everything is good there. And I will do the stop range that I feel looks best. So sometimes it might be a 3-stop range, depending on what it is. For some architectural photography, I will do maybe a 5-stop, because I'm going to need more of a darker exposure to bring in the bright light and the brightness from outside in. So I need to see all that detail. So I will do that, and I will do certain things like take my, if I don't have a shutter release with me, I will set my camera on a 2-second delay. So I'll click the photo, or click the shutter button, and wait till the photo exposes after 2 seconds, so I don't touch the camera while it's doing its thing. So I'll get all of those, and I will take them in to Photomatics right off when I get them back home. And Photomatics is a great. I haven't found any other photographer that uses anything besides Photomatics. I'm sure there's a lot of HDR programs out there, but that one really, it's constantly being updated. and it does really well. I've never had it have a problem with my images. So I will put those in Photomatix, let it do its rendering part, and when it gives me the output file, the first thing it comes up with, I'm going to choose the default preset for it, and that's just basically like the the blank one with no effects, no crazy surrealism or anything like that. Because I just want that blank file. I don't want anything else done to it because I'm going to make more adjustments to it. So I will take that and I will export it as a TIFF. And then I will normally, I've kind of been doing it two different ways lately, but normally I will bring that in to Photoshop. And I will make my edits in Photoshop. I'll do my basic edits as far as contrast, warmth, light, white balance, stuff like that. I'll do all of that stuff, which it really doesn't take that long. And then I'll probably bring that into Lightroom. And so I will have my photo cataloged in Lightroom, and this is kind of a backwards workflow. A lot of people go into Lightroom first and then go into Photoshop, but I just find that I like to drag it in Photoshop first. I don't know why, but Photoshop has always been first thing in my mind when I do a photo. But I'll bring that into to Lightroom then, and then I'll make some smaller adjustments to it. If I have like a preset that I want to use, I'll apply that, and then I will I will open it from Lightroom into Photoshop again, and then I will drag in the original TIFF that it exported. And what that will do is it will allow me to place that original TIFF on top of the edited TIFF that I have, and play with the opacity of that layer. And what that'll do is it'll kind of bring back some of the detail from the original TIFF that I have, but keep my edits, and I can just kind of play around with that. And what it does is it kind of balances stuff out. I found that it really works well that way. I used to do it another way, where I would take the neutral exposure, the unedited neutral exposure, and layer that. But sometimes that can give you kind of wonky results. So I found that this way works really well. So if you are shooting the HDR and want to give that a shot, or if you have stopped shooting HDR, give this method a try. It might work well for you, it might not. But I just found that it worked well for me in the past. So let me give you a couple videos that you can look up that I made about HDR, and they're actually some of my more popular videos. The first one is PictureMonk.com/manual bracketing, and that will show you how I do a manual bracketing sequence. It might be helpful to see that part. Another video that shows the older method that I do. I'm kind of working on another video to show you the new method of blending exposures. Is PictureMonk.com/edit-HDR, and that'll show you how I edit those HDR files. And if you don't want to shoot manual bracketing or auto exposure bracketing in camera, and you have one file that you want to basically do an HDR effect to, that is still possible. You don't technically need three. You can kind of get away with it, I guess, if you have one photo, and a lot of people do that. It's kind of called pseudo HDR or one-shot HDR. You can check that video out at PictureMonk.com/HDR Camera Raw, and that'll show you how I do the Photoshop effect in Camera Raw without going into Photoshop at all. And it's really simple. You can kind of do the same thing in Lightroom. It's basically just bringing down the highlights and increasing the shadows, and then increasing the clarity. And the clarity really gives it that crunchy HDR look that a lot of people don't like, but sometimes it really brings out a photo. So check those videos out, leave comments, and just let me know what you think about that, and let me know what kind of HDR effect you use, or HDR editing method you use, because I'm definitely open to trying. I'm still learning photography. Nobody's mastered photography. I don't think that's even possible. But that's about it, guys. I just wanted to kind of run through those things. I'm glad to bring the PictureMonk podcast into 2015. And just again, look for my Lightroom preset sale that's going to be coming up next month. If you follow me on Twitter or Facebook, You'll probably get some announcements about that. I've been working on that most of today, and it is 1:30 in the morning, so I probably need to head to bed. But thanks again for listening, guys. Head on over to iTunes to rate the podcast if you like it. Even if you don't like it, rate it. Just let me know what you do or don't like. And that's about it, guys. Hopefully you guys had a great new year, and I will see you in the next video. This is Jordan with PictureMonk.com, and I will talk to you guys later.